An update tells you it needs to restart, so you assume it has not installed yet. It has. Almost all of it is already sitting on your disk, and the restart is not where the update gets installed. It is where it gets switched over. So what is your computer waiting for when the work is already done? It is waiting for a moment when nothing is using the files it has to replace. And the reason an app never asks you for that moment is not that apps are better written. It is that you are not running them. Start with what a running program actually is. It is not a copy of the file that got loaded once and then cut loose. The file itself is mapped into memory, and the program keeps reading pages out of it for as long as it runs, pulling in the parts it has not needed yet. So the file on your disk is not a record of the program. It is where the program lives while it is living. That is why a computer can tell you a file is in use and mean it literally rather than as an excuse. Something has it open and it is reading out of it right now, which is a perfectly good arrangement right up until the day somebody wants to put a different file in that exact spot. Windows takes the strict line here. Ask it to delete or replace a file that something else still has open, and it refuses outright. Its own documentation puts it plainly, that the call fails if the file has other handles open for normal input and output, or as a memory mapped file. A running program is exactly that second case. So the installer does the only thing left. It writes the new file down beside the old one under a different name, and then it leaves a note for the machine itself saying that next time you start up, before you do anything else, rename this one over that one. And the moment it picks to do that work is written down precisely. After the disk check and before the paging file is created, which is to say, before a single thing has had the chance to open any of them. So that screen with the percentage on it, the one telling you not to turn the computer off, is not installing your update. It is carrying out the swap it was not allowed to make while you were using the machine. Now do exactly the same thing on a Mac or on Linux, and it simply works. The new file goes into place while you carry on working, and nothing anywhere complains. Not because those systems are more relaxed about it, but because of a decision taken in the 1970s about what a file even is. A name and a body are two separate objects there. The name points at the body, and taking the name away does not destroy the body. The manual is explicit that if any process still has the file open, the file stays in existence until the last one lets go of it. So the installer never overwrites anything at all. It writes the new body, then slides the new name over the old one in a single indivisible step, and every program that was already reading carries straight on reading out of a body that no longer has a name attached to it. You have watched this from the other side already. It is the same split as a file you delete that turns out not to be gone, because what you removed was the entry and not the bytes. Here, the split is being used deliberately. Which sounds like the whole problem is solved until you ask what is actually running. The file on the disk is new. The program in memory is not. It is still executing out of the old body, the one with no name. And it will go on doing that until it stops and starts again. So a Linux machine will finish most of an update while you work, and then hand you a list of the things that are still running the old code and need restarting. Nothing failed there, and the swap worked exactly as designed. It just never reached into memory to rewrite something that was already in motion. The smallest version of this is open in front of you most days. Your browser downloaded its new version days ago, put it neatly on your disk, and it has been showing you a button that says relaunch ever since, because the copy drawing that button is the old one. Every restart request in computing is that button at a different size. And there is one program you can never do any of this to at any size. The system underneath everything else is the thing performing the swap. Its code is what is running while the installer runs. Its memory is where every open file is being tracked. And asking it to replace itself is asking it to take up the floor it is standing on while standing on it. People have got surgically close. Live patching can redirect one function inside a running core to a fixed version, which is enough to close a security hole without ever stopping the machine, and it is deliberately narrow. It cannot change how the data is laid out, and it does not move you from one version to the next. So for a real version change, every machine on Earth ends up doing the identical thing. It stops, and then it starts again. The rule holds everywhere, and the only thing that differs is where each system put the weighting. Windows stages the files and performs the rename in the first instant of startup, before anything can take hold of them. A Mac does not patch its running system at all. The system volume is sealed and signed as one object, so an update builds a whole new sealed copy beside the old one, and the machine starts up into the new one. Your phone goes further and keeps two complete copies of itself. It writes the update into the half you are not using while you carry on using the other half, and its own documentation is blunt about what that buys. The only downtime is the reboot into the updated partition. And Linux swaps what it can swap immediately and restarts what it must, which is why its answer looks like no reboot at all, right up until the core is what changed. 4 answers, and from outside, they look nothing alike. That, I think, is the entire reason the complaint survives. You have used all 4 of them, and not one of them ever mentioned that it was solving the same problem as the others. Look again at what that box is actually asking you for. It is not asking for time to install something, because that part finished while you were doing something else. It is not asking you to be patient with badly written software. It is asking you to stop using the computer for 90 seconds, because that is the only condition under which the parts it has to change are not being held open by anything. And on a machine that is switched on and working, there has never been another way to arrive at that condition. Your apps never had to ask you for it, and that was never because somebody wrote them more carefully. You are not running them. Open one first and then update it, and it will ask you for precisely the same thing at a smaller size. The restart was never the update. It was the only quiet moment the update could have.
Everything you just figured out rests on something deeper, and that's the next video, so start there. Would you rather understand your computer than just use it? Then subscribe, and I'll see you next time, further down the stack.